Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Bill. I'm that expat prepper that lives in the Philippines. With all the natural and potentially non natural disasters happening lately in the news, for example, like this fire that we had in Maui, that was just absolutely ridiculous, and how many people lost their lives is still not known. We have to stop and consider sometimes that even no matter how prepared we may be, we may just not be able to outrun something like this fire or the fires that were in Canada. You know, and then we're going to talk about earthquakes and floods here too in a minute. But how could you have prevented the loss of lives in the Maui? With the wind and the fire that was going on, and as dry as it was there, the problems just doesn't give you enough time to do anything. Even being right by the water, you think, go run in the ocean, and that didn't work out for a lot of folks also. So even if you had a go bag, you had nowhere to go. All right, so you need to really stop and take a hard look around your environments a lot. You need to figure out what is the probability of a fire in this area. Now, people have known for years that it's been dry in Hawaii and that the potential of a perfect storm is what happened. A storm came in and blew winds and just blew that fire all over the place. But that happens, and the doom and gloom side of it is even if you were a prepper on that beach in Maui, there's not much you were doing. There wasn't a whole lot you could do to be prepared for something like that. That's where you just drop everything and run as fast as you can. Let's talk about the earthquake in Morocco. It's the worst earthquake in 60 years. But as you look at these pictures, I want you to stop and think about something. A lot of buildings did just fine, and a lot of buildings collapsed completely into rubble. And when you look into this pile of rubble, you know what you see? Is dirt and clay bricks. You don't see any rebar. You don't see any support. You don't see any 20th century engineering happening. So, you can say that you might never have an earthquake in this area, but then when you do have one, if you weren't building correctly and you weren't doing engineer specs, of course your mud house is going to fall down on you. And it's tragic. And a lot of the people in Morocco right now are literally left to fend for themselves. Do they have solar power? Do they have enough water for a week or two? What kind of medical supplies do they have on hand? These are the preppers that are living in solid buildings, right? These are the ones that, like me here in the Philippines, I engineered a very strong concrete building. It's not going to fall in an earthquake unless it's a magnitude 7 or crazier, right? So, you look at these fires and stuff that happened in Greece. The fires a couple weeks ago were unprecedented in Greece as well. The fires that were happening in Canada this year were insane. These people are not used to these kind of natural disasters and events. Now, after the big fire in Greece, you want to know what happened? They got a huge storm, and now the mudslides and stuff have just been going crazy. The flooding in Greece, because of all these fires, they're just causing a pain. And how do you prepare for something on this scale, right? So that's why I try to say I'm in a location where I don't have to worry about too many natural disasters. I'm not on the coastline of the Philippines, so typhoons just tend to mean wind and rain to me. I'm on an elevated property, so I'm not worried about flooding. Power outage, that's a concern. But my building isn't going to fall down in an earthquake. I'm not going to be reliant on someone to come try to save me. These floods, you can't outrun that. Look how fast this water's going, right? And you'll see several instances in today's short video clips of people trying to outrun this water, and they're not making it. Now, the death toll right now in Greece is unsure. We know that Morocco, we had probably 3,000 plus, and they might not find some of these bodies. Look at this water. How do you find a body that's washed away in this? How do you prepare for this kind of stuff? Now, let's not think about the actual disaster itself here in this case. Once the water goes down and you have no power, all your stuff's contaminated, the drinking water's not there, all the standing water's full of sewage and trash. Do you have waterproof medicines that you can surf out of a room or something? I mean, let's look at these pictures out of China and how crazy these things have been going on for, excuse me, for over a month in China, right? They've been hit back to back to back with typhoons. And look at the incredible images here. This isn't something that you want to see. How do you prepare for this? Well, I guess the main thing is you don't build or you don't put up your compound site in the location prone to flooding. It sounds sad, but you need to make sure you're in a secure, safe place, and you need to make sure you have preps. You have to have your food and water and medicine, and you absolutely need to have your own way to generate solar power or electricity of some means through a generator or something else, guys. I don't know how these people are going to survive the next month and how many more people are going to end up dead because of post emergency issues, from infections, starvation, cholera, and a lot of waterborne diseases. And then even if they make it past all that, how long will it take to rebuild their lives? Their homes are gone, their businesses are destroyed, whatever equity they had in any stores or shops, that's all wasted. It's all in the garbage now. And in China, they don't even tell you what happened. They're not even telling you anybody died from these floods, or they'll say a dozen or two. When you look at these pictures, someone's lying. So when your government just lies about this, and then we've seen the fake government response out of China regarding, rescue efforts, how do you sit back and take a prep plan? How do my anxiety is a little high today because I look at these things and I go, I can't prep for this stuff. All I could do is not be in those kind of locations. So take a hard look at where you're at and what's prone for your areas. And if you're in an area that's prone for flooding every 100 years, you know what? You're going to probably experience a flood in your lifetime of this magnitude. Fires, California was burning. Even if you're in New York and you're not on fire, look at the smoke inhalation from the Canadian fires this year. Look how much that brought New York to a standstill, and how good was that for everyone's lungs? Now, I'm not even talking about pandemics and other issues right now. I'm talking about just these kind of natural disasters that are on such a scale and come so quick, right? These floods are flash floods. Now, if you know a typhoon's coming and you live in this area, get out. Go somewhere else. If you're not in a strong enough building, make sure you have your preps. Now, I understand not everyone can prepare, but I'm looking at these images same time you guys are, and it's just how do you recover from that? The main thing I really want to talk about is just if you're not prepping for this kind of stuff, you need to start prepping for it. And I don't worry about food. I don't worry about medicine. I worry about power a little bit because I'll end up powering a lot of people's phones and stuff. But you have to understand that the time it takes to recover from these kind of natural disasters are months to years, right? Maui won't be rebuilt for a year. Those people are relocated. All their belongings are gone. In these floods, like we're seeing in Greece and China and many other places around the world, they're not going to be recovering from this really quick. So, take a hard look at where you're at, guys. And if you're not prepping at all, please start. Okay, I keep telling you guys, you got to start prepping for these kind of disasters. We can sit here and look easily at these pictures and go, that doesn't happen to us. That won't happen here. You know what? Comment down below if you think you're in a spot where you won't have a natural disaster, and I'll probably figure out something that could and may happen to you in those areas. It's happening everywhere around the world, and that's just a fact of life nowadays. Matter of fact, I see so much of this on the news. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, an earthquake in Morocco. 3,000 people and counting dead. Sure, okay. And then I move on. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are doing just that. They're like, yeah, this is so common nowadays to see these kind of disasters that unless there's some politics behind it, you're not going to see people change or worry about it until the next news story or the next celebrity got pregnant or some other ridiculous thing. But if you're in these type of environments, or if you survived an incident like this, how long can you continue to survive? I keep stressing this point over and over and over again, guys. It doesn't take a lot, and it doesn't take a long time to get your preps in order. It doesn't take a lot to make a plan. I look at these pictures and I see people caught out on their motorbikes or little scooters, and I'm like, did you not see the flood water? It's 4 feet deep. Why are you out there in your scooter? You know, I see these people trying to wade across flash flooding that's going, 80 miles an hour. Well, are they Olympic swimmers? I don't know what they're doing. Just think about all this pollution too. All of this stuff you see in these pictures, whether it's fires, earthquakes, or floods, they have a downstream effect to food production and a lot of other issues, right? So you're not just seeing the 1 week disaster, you're seeing the mega years of the impact from these kind of events. It used to be where you'd see something like this once a year somewhere in one spot on the planet. All these pictures I'm showing you are from the last 3 weeks, okay? Everything you're seeing going on is from 3 weeks. Now, I've harped about droughts before, but let me tell you what, droughts actually play a large part in these floods. The ground is not ready to absorb water anymore, it's washed away, and you get mudslides quicker, and the water isn't being utilized or directed correctly. And what you end up with is a whole lot of polluted water going back into the ground eventually when these kind of things settle down. So if you're not preparing, and I'm just going to keep saying this, start preparing now, folks. No matter where you live, or what your lifestyle is, do whatever you can. If it's a can of tuna a week, put something aside, because these things are going to be more and more common. And it's not because we have global news now and we can see this kind of stuff. It's because the climate has changed, and it's the rock that did it. It's nothing humans did. And the climate can change anytime it wants. You could have these random 6.8 earthquakes once in 80 years, once in a 100-year event. But if it happens where you're at and you're not ready, you know what's going to happen is you're just not going to make it. Or not, your whole family won't make it. Your neighbors might not make it. And even if you survive and you had some stock, the recovery from these kind of events takes a long time. Now, I wish I had more information about what's going on in China, but China just doesn't share anything, and they've been beat up. I did a video a week ago on that China's in trouble for a lot of reasons, mostly due to all this flooding and stuff they've been doing, but economically and other reasons. But the food problem in China by this storm this week hasn't gotten better. It's actually keeps making it worse. In the fresh drinking water situation in China, yeah, they have all the water in the world, but they can't drink it and they can't use it for manufacturing. All this stuff is all polluted water. Comment down below what kind of diseases are carried in this water. I know there's all kinds of diseases because everyone's septic tanks overflowed and all the sewage and the dead bodies and the things that are in this water. This is not good water. Cholera got to be at least the minimum. So guys, if you're not prepping, prep. And until then, please be safe.